I think we've all heard the story of Roger Bannister and the 4 minute mile, and how up until the point that he broke through that 4 minute mile barrier, it had seemed like this unattainable achievement that nobody could do it. And now, um, elite runners at a variety of levels continually break through that barrier, and it was kind of this kind of glass ceiling, this almost unattainable kind of point of achievement that people just didn't think they could accomplish. But once somebody did it, now it became real. It became something that could be attained. It became an achievement that somebody could go and accomplish. And so, I think that happens in the business world too. And I've seen it time and time again. I saw it very early on in my business career. I remember talking with a couple of the people who were, the I guess prominent consultants in the fitness industry early on in the time that I was in the industry. Basically, when I had my first business and was just getting ready to open my second business, and I told them that we were going to be selling personal training on 12-month contracts, and we were going to be selling it with a subscription billing model. And both of them, in no uncertain terms and frankly with some colorful language, told me that I was crazy and that that wouldn't work, that people wouldn't buy it, that I needed to follow the traditional path. I needed to sell things in packages or by session in a series where you prepay for the next session. Um, and they just couldn't see it because nobody had really been doing it. And, and once we started doing that, and some other people took hold and started doing something similar, it became common practice. It became very real. And now every training based franchise in America is built off that model. And most independently owned facilities are built off that model. Not necessarily the 12-month contracts, because the the market has evolved and now things are more flexible and more people do month to month. Not all. Some people have been able to execute 12-month contracts successfully still, but I mean, we're talking about like 20 years ago, we were selling programming that way. And until somebody did it, until people felt it was possible, I'm sure that most trainers thought, well, you can't do that. People aren't going to, commit to training for a year. They're not going to buy things on a subscription just because it wasn't common practice. And, I've seen it with people that we worked with. The other day we held a workshop with Graham Wilkerson. Graham owns a really cool sports performance business in Indianapolis. And, you know, what I think is really neat about his business is that, he's not built a powerhouse business on the back of, hey, I train these high profile athletes. He doesn't have a really robust national or international social media presence. He doesn't have a giant facility. He's not in the most affluent market. But Graham is going to do seven figures this year in sports performance. And Graham last month, as I record this, did like $115,000 in his sports performance business. Now, his primary location is just a light industrial space, nothing fancy, not on some high traffic thoroughfare, not in the middle of, all the most affluent athletes or anything like that. And then he has a secondary site that's, a little more like a satellite site, but frankly, a secondary site's better than 95% of the sports performance businesses from a revenue and profitability standpoint in the entire country. And, I think what I really enjoyed about showcasing what he was doing by kind of hosting a workshop for him was that maybe when people see that, hey, you know what, even if I'm not, a really, really high profile business, it's easy to look at guys like Mike Boyle or, Eric Cressey and say, I'm not exactly sure how I get to that level of prominence. And make no mistake, especially in Eric's case, I got to see kind of behind the curtain and watch his growth and watch his evolution. And it was all earned step by step. And for as long as I've known Mike, and Mike was doing this long before I knew Mike, his has been the same way. But I think you see that kind of visibility, and you see them training pro athletes, and you see showpiece facilities and all this stuff, and growing to that level may not feel incredibly attainable. But with Graham, I think that most people, if they walk through the front door of his facility, they say, I'm not that far away from being able to do this. They could see the market he's in and say, his market's not that much better than mine. They could see the people that he trains, and most of them, they're not, these, all pro athletes or all star players or whatever else. They're normal athletes trying to look to improve. And I think by seeing that, it becomes more real, becomes more attainable, instead of, the sports performance business owners thinking that they almost have to take this vow of poverty to pursue their passion, to do the things that they love. They see, man, I can build something that generates real revenue, helps me build wealth, and I don't have to settle. And I think that's amazing. And I think Doug Sperling's another great example of this. I mean, Doug built a 7-figure business with a single site, and then when he decided to sell, he had a 7-figure exit. And seeing that, I think allows small business owners who have one location to say, you know what, I can build something that's really, really going to create some opportunities for my family, allows me to earn a substantial income, again, kind of build wealth. And that is that kind of glass ceiling that guys like that, when they break through, it opens the door for so many other people. It shows other people that, yeah, this is possible, and I don't have to have 5 locations to earn a really meaningful income. I don't have to train a bunch of guys who are going to play in an MLB All-Star game to build a great sports performance business. So I think it's wise for us to look at people who may be a few steps down the road further than us, but allow us to see that, yes, the things that we want are attainable. We don't have to settle, but we also have to understand that we don't get to just jump to where they are. We don't get to just have what they have. We have to earn it just like they did. But they've kind of paved the way. They've shown us a blueprint that we know works, and it's a blueprint that we can execute. I mean, I don't know about you, but, I watch, these prominent speakers, the Tony Robbins of the world, or even in our industry, guys like Todd Durkin or Martin Rooney. And I'm like, man, if that's what it takes for me to build a great platform and build a really substantial business, it's probably not going to happen, because that's not my personality. It's not my style. They've developed talent and worked at their craft to be really good at those things. And, so for me, I have to see other ways to do things. How can I build a livelihood? How can I build my business by doing things that play to my strengths, the things that are attainable? And I think that applies to you too. I think that if you look at some of these things, use what some of these guys have accomplished to show you what's possible, to show you that you can, in fact, have the things that you want to have. You can build the things you want to build. It'll take work. It's going to take consistency. It's going to take perseverance. I mean, having enjoyed watching guys like Graham or Doug or so many of the other clients that we've had along the way, or people in boardroom, grow and consistently improve and build month after month and year after year, it it feels very real. And I know from my end, I can see the path forward. I can talk to somebody who might be, doing $15,000 a month, and I can see a really clear path for them to get to $50,000 a month. But they have to see it too. They have to believe long enough to persevere and start to feel those rewards and enjoy that momentum and that kind of compound effect. So if you're not paying attention to some of these guys that may not always be the one speaking at Perform Better, or may not have 100,000 followers on Instagram or something like that, maybe you should, because there's some people doing really great things in our industry. There's some people who are maybe a couple steps ahead and have broken through this glass ceiling and can show you what's possible. And they kind of pave the way, and they let you know that the things that maybe you've lost a little bit of confidence in being able to achieve, or maybe you don't know how to get there, they've done it. And if you kind of adapt their blueprint to fit your skills and your circumstances, you can do it too.